Everyone is talking about AI agents. They're everywhere. But what are they actually? If you Google it, you'll get flooded with buzzwords like RAG, reasoning, react, and a bunch of other confusing stuff. That's why this explanation of AI agents is for regular people. No coding required. We'll break it down in simple terms with clear visuals. And you'll see that you don't even need to know how to code to build your own AI agents. Hi, I'm Joey, and here on the Triple 10 channel, my job is to make tech simple. What is an LLM? You've probably heard of ChatGPT or Gemini. They are large language models. They're programs, basically programs that have learned to generate text that sounds very human. It's kind of crazy how they can understand your request and respond with exactly the kind of answer you were hoping for. From the outside, it feels like there's some crazy mechanism or something behind the scenes that knows the answer to every question and can even tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. But there's no magic here. Let me explain how this works in very simple terms. First, developers wrote a program that can take in text and store it in memory. They started with a simple sentence: cats are fat. The program broke it down into separate words and saved them on something like a map, and it placed each word at its own point on a sheet of paper. Then they gave it another text, also about cats, but this time saying they are fat and fluffy. The program again split the sentence into words, but now it noticed that cats and fat were already on the map and had appeared together before. Instead of creating new points, it moved the existing cats and fat a bit closer to each other, showing that these words often go together. And the new word fluffy was added somewhere on the map because the program had never seen it before. Next, they fed it a third text about fat cats and funny memes. The program shifted cats and fat even closer, and near the word meme, the word funny appeared. Then it got another text about funny memes. Those words moved closer together, and new unknown words were added to the map again. So they kept feeding the program more and more text. Each time, new words appeared on the map, and words that often showed up together were pulled closer and closer, forming tight clusters of related texts. The more text the program processed, the more accurately it grouped those words that belonged together. At some point, people asked themselves, how do we give it enough text so that it can learn the relationships, not just between cats and being fat, but between almost all the words in the world? The answer was to connect it to the internet. Because online, there are huge amounts of data. There's books, there's articles, there's forums. So the program started going through them one by one, reading word after word, and building its map of connections. Whenever words frequently appeared together in many sentences, the model would place them next to each other on the map. So good often appeared next to morning, funny often appeared next to meme, and meme often appeared next to cat. In the end, the model formed billions of these kind of connections. So when you type a question like, what is the funniest meme into ChatGPT, the model takes your words and it finds them on its map. And it looks around and it says, what words tend to sit near meme? It notices that cat is usually nearby. Then it sees that cat is also close to fat. So the program concludes that the memes about fat cats are a highly likely answer. In other words, the model is basically just guessing. It doesn't actually know that cats are the funniest creatures on earth, but it's seen so many texts about funny fat cats and so many memes featuring them that it estimates the probability of laughter from cats to be very high. Because the model has studied a massive amount of information and built very precise connections between those words, its guesses end up being right most of the time. However, if you want a specific answer, you need to ask a specific question. That question is what we call a prompt. Writing a strong prompt is exactly how you get the model to do impressive things for you. Writing a good prompt isn't as easy as it sounds. If you only give the AI like a few words, then you usually get a pretty weak result. The more context and the details that you can provide, the better the output usually is. But that usually means you have to manually write all of it and every single prompt. So I built an automatic prompt optimizer to fix that for you. So all you have to do now is just type in a short, simple prompt, and it instantly turns it into a detailed, high-quality prompt that works great with all of the modern AI models. And the results are noticeably better. It's completely free on the Triple 10 website. Just click the link in the description and use it whenever you chat with AI. And respond in the comments how that works for you. So let's look at an example. This is James. He works as a manager at a construction company, and every day he gets a ton of emails from clients. People want him to build a house, do a renovation, add a garage, all the normal construction stuff. So he has to politely reply to every email, attaching different construction plans and the pricing. And after a while, James gets absolutely tired of writing the same thing to different people every single day. So what does he do? He opens up ChatGPT, he pastes in the client's email, and types out a prompt. In the prompt, he says, write a polite reply to this email, calculate the construction costs, and tell the client that the builders will come on Tuesday. End prompt. And a couple of seconds later, a great polite email is ready. James is stoked. He wrote a short prompt and saved 5 minutes compared to writing the whole email by hand every time. This is called one-shot prompting. where you give the model like a small task and it immediately gives you a result. This is the simplest way to use an LLM, and it works perfectly for all of its, simple tasks. But there's a problem. Let's say James sends an automated reply and suddenly a client calls him and screams, "What do you mean the builders are going to come on Tuesday? At what time? And why is this so expensive?" James looks at the reply generated by ChatGPT, and since there are really only general words there, there's no specifics at all. Why? Because the model knows how to write polite emails, since it read millions of them while training, but it knows nothing about James's specific construction company. The model was told that there's going to be a client, you need to answer politely, and that the builders will come on Tuesday. But it completely guessed on calculating the cost on its own, based only on this vague email. And so, of course, it calculated it wrong, because the model did not know what materials are needed, what details are important to mention. Is this a long-term client? Maybe they already built them a house. Is there discounts? So many questions that weren't specified in the prompt. And there's simply no such information on its map. The result is a strange reply and an absolutely furious client. "Okay," James thinks, "I'll add more details to the prompt." And so he starts writing, "Okay, you are a professional manager at a construction company. Communicate in a friendly tone. Mention that a team of 4 people will come on Tuesday at 9 a.m. to take measurements and discuss the details." End prompt. So in the end, the prompt turns into a whole page and takes 10 minutes to write. But now ChatGPT generates an excellent email with all of the correct details. Except James has just spent those 10 minutes on a prompt for an email he could have written by hand in a minute. That's not automating things. This is just basically creating a new job. Every email needs its own huge prompt with its own very specific details. So one-shot prompting doesn't really work well for complex tasks with lots of details. But James needs each reply to each email to be exactly like he would write it himself, taking into account all of the very specific details. And he needs it really quick. Wouldn't it be so much easier for him to be able to write just a few clear, detailed prompts once, explain the company, the tone of communication, and how to do the calculations, and then he never has to waste time on that again? So as a result, instead of one big request, there will be a chain of small ones. So as soon as an email comes in, we can paste that into the first prompt and run the first step. It completes, and the result is automatically passed into the prompt of the next step, and so on. All the steps run one after another. This is called an AI workflow. AI workflow is a chain of steps, basically requests to the model, where the result of one step is passed as input to the next. For example, to build a house, the worker first has to lay the foundation. He specializes in exactly that. The second worker, they build the walls. The third worker installs the roof. Each does their own part, and they do that better than the others because that's their specialty. A workflow with AI works the same way, except instead of houses and workers, we have different prompts and AI models. Different models are better for different tasks. For example, ChatGPT can write text very well, while Nano Banana is great for drawing images. And if you try to do all the tasks in one step, the results won't be very good, per James. That's why we created several steps, where at each step, we choose the best model for that specific task and the best prompt to write for it. So to give an AI model a clear task, you have to explain everything as if you were explaining it to a human, of course. So when a client writes that they want to build a house, James, of course, thinks, first, we need to understand what kind of house they want. Then we draw a sketch, then calculate the estimate, and after all of that, send the client a nice reply with all of the calculations. So following this exact logic, we build out a workflow. An email from the client arrives. "I want a wooden house, 2 floors with a pool, and my budget is $200,000, preferably finished by the end of summer." So then we pass this email into ChatGPT along with the first prompt, which we wrote specifically for this step. So we'll say, read this email from a client and extract how many floors the client wants, what material they want, etc., and give a short answer as bullet points. ChatGPT is going to process that data and give a clear answer. The materials are wood. The budget is up to $200,000, and so on, so on, so on. Now, this really short and clear description is passed to another model at the next step. Wait, you're going to say, how does it go from one step to the next? Don't I need to write code for that? Nope. Because we have built-in special no-code tools for building workflows. In there, you literally add the steps of your workflow with your mouse and connect them into a chain. And inside each step is where you write a normal prompt for the model to choose. If you want a clear tutorial on how to build your own AI agent with these no-code tools, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We put a lot of effort into making these videos useful and simple, and your support really helps. I know it's just one click for you guys, but it really means a lot for us. So thank you. So the short description is passed to another model, the one that can actually draw a sketch house and create an image. For this example, we'll use Nano Banana. We also wrote a prompt for it. Draw a sketch of a house in a modern style, side view and front view. Style, let's say minimalist. The model takes this prompt and the results of the first step, and it combines them to draw a sketch. Then the result of this step is passed to yet another model, for example, Gemini, which will calculate how many materials and how much money the construction will actually require. So the prompt there is, calculate the construction estimate. Here are our prices. The model again takes the previous result and the new prompt and prepares a table. And then all of the materials, the description, the sketch, the estimate, are passed together with another prompt into ChatGPT. That prompt says, write a reply to the client and attach all of the necessary documents. So that email with the attachments is ready. We were able to set up the chain once, wrote a few prompts in advance, and now everything just works on its own. So when we see a new email, we just start the workflow and that's it. The whole chain of actions runs step by step, exactly as it was configured. And the client gets a custom prompt that fits them perfectly because in our prompts, we told the AI models in specific detail what results we wanted. In short, workflow is extremely powerful. You write prompts once and reuse them constantly. Everything is predictable. Step 1, step 2, step 3, done. But what if something does go wrong? What if something breaks at the sketch drawing step? For example, what if the nano banana model fails to generate a picture on the first try? So the AI can't roll back and start over because each next step depends on the results of the previous one. Then the client will not get a reply and will call in anger again. And what if the request is unusual? They don't want a house, they want a sauna with a helipad. The model's not going to understand any of this and is going to produce a lousy result. A workflow is a very rigid construction. If at some point one of the actions fails, there is no way to check the result or go back and redo things. A workflow cannot adapt. But what if it could? Now we've come to the most important part, so watch this carefully. So James thinks, right now I'm the one managing this entire process and I have to think through different prompts and build all of these chains by myself. What if I could add one more AI model into the system that will manage this process for me? An AI that will look at all the tasks and decide which of these steps are needed and which are not. That will also check results, fix mistakes, and adapt to unusual requests. That is how the AI agent appeared. An AI agent is a system where the model makes decisions on its own. It's no longer just an executor that does exactly what a human says, but now it's a manager that can decide how and what to do. With a workflow, the human told the system, do steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, and execute them exactly in this order, exactly as written, no other way. Now the human can say to the AI agent, process this client request and send them everything that they need. And then the AI agent itself actually decides what steps are needed, in what order, and if something needs to be double checked or redone. Because of this, the difference is enormous. And yeah, it sometimes feels a little unbelievable, but the AI agent will still wait for us to tell it what and how to do. It's still us, humans, that set up the agents, of course, in the same way as before with a prompt. Because it's still the same AI model, the human can tell the AI agent what its goal is and give it access to different tools, such as Google Calendar or Gmail, so that it can use them on their own, and also explain how to make decisions and check results. The only difference is that this time we give the AI a little more freedom in how exactly to reach that goal. So we write one long detailed prompt. Every day, check the email inbox. If there are construction requests, process them. Make a plan, draw a sketch like this, calculate the estimate using these exact tools. Then send everything to the client. What we don't say is do step 1 first, then do step 2, then do step 3. We immediately give the agent a complex task. So here's how it works. The client email arrives saying we want to build a summer house, no sketches needed, and that an estimate is going to be enough. The agent can read this email because we already previously attached it to Gmail. Then it starts building chains of action by itself based on what was read in the email. How does it do this? The AI agent executes the prompt that we gave it and can create additional prompts for itself if it needs extra details or actions, and then executes them. Because it's just an AI model, for example, ChatGPT. An AI agent is just a fancy word for the system connecting the model and the tools together, to which we've given a lot more freedom and authority so that they can act autonomously. For example, from the big prompt that we gave, the AI agent knows that it's going to need to structure the request, then pick a project within the budget, then calculate the estimate, and so on. So it writes itself a little to-do list, which it will follow, basically generating it via the AI model. But then when analyzing the original prompt, the agent sees that it says to draw a sketch. Yet the client in their email wrote that they don't need a sketch. A workflow would blindly draw the sketch because it was written that way. But the AI agent starts to reason. The AI agent will say that the client is not asking us to draw it. That means I don't need to call the sketch drawing AI. I'm going to change my action plan. Great. One last step. See how that works? The agent has independently decided to skip a step that's not needed. It read the request and quickly built a workflow exactly for this specific case. The AI agent itself decided that this is what needed to be done, which AI to call upon, and so on. Yeah, the things that AI models can do already are pretty mind-blowing. But to build AI agents, you don't need to know how to code or have any tech background whatsoever. These agents can be created in special apps like Nain or Zapier that have super friendly user interfaces, so that working in them kind of just feels like you're already building things. All you have to do is drag and drop different actions that you want the AI to make for you, connect them into a sequence, and boom, that's it. And I'll show you how to build your own AI agent from scratch, explaining it all step by step in the next video. There, we're going to create an agent together that's going to be so useful for your work in daily life. And it's going to be so easy. So stay tuned. If you like this video, please subscribe for more tech explainers in plain terms. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.